Hello friend, in this lecture we will discuss on what is an HTML element. So friend, let's start. The combination of a start tag and an end tag defines an HTML element. That is, an HTML element will have both the start tag and also the end tag. Now, everything in between these two tags is referred to as the content of the HTML element. That is, whatever we will write in between the start tag and the end tag, that we call as a content of that HTML element. Or in other words, we can define an HTML element as a combination of a start tag, some attribute, and it will have an end tag and the content between the start tag and the end tag. So the combination of all these things will be an HTML element. That is, an HTML element is a composition of start tag, some attribute, end tag, and some content in between start tag and end tag. However, there are few markup element which does not enclose any content and thus they do not need any end tag and is also known as the void element or an empty element. Now let me quickly show you few examples of an HTML element. Now in this particular example of HTML element, we have an opening tag and the closing tag, and in between this opening tag and the closing tag we have some content, that is, click on the link. This is the content of this HTML element and this is known as the content of this HTML element. Also, we have an attribute called href attribute with some value as http www.example.com. So in this particular example, it is composed of an start tag. It has an attribute called href with some value, then it has got some content and also the end tag. So this is an example of a complete HTML element. One more example of the HTML element is shown here. Here we have an opening tag and a closing tag, and in between this opening tag and the closing tag we are having some content. So this is also a valid example of an HTML element. The only difference between these two examples are, in the first example we have defined some attribute, but in this second example we have not defined any attribute. Now let me show you one more example of an HTML element. Here this example is having only the opening tag and not the end tag, nor it has any content. As it is not having any content, hence end tag is not at all required here. Similarly, another example of an empty tag is the HR tag. This HR tag is responsible to put a horizontal line between some content. Another example of an HTML element is an input tag, and this input tag has an opening tag and some attribute called type, name, and ID is defined for it, but it again does not have the closing tag or the end tag, and also it does not have any content. So these are all the valid example of an HTML element. Hope you got some basic idea about what is an HTML element. Please don't worry as of now. As we do hands-on in our upcoming lecture, we will have a crystal clear idea on each of this element in HTML. Thank you for watching.